Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. It is Saturday, July 18th, and you know what that means. It's time for the High Risk Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, trying to figure out what's going on. What's going on? Jeremy Pierce, welcome one and all. You know you can check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, and of course the 215 on Twitter. And today's show, well, ladies and gentlemen, we need to figure out what's going on with TNA wrestling. It's weird. They're in a really weird position after all the good that they've brought on. Something's happened. We're going to talk about all of that today, but for now, you know what's next, so just go on and hit my music. All right, this list is very simple. These are the current best champions in TNA, and we start with number 5, Xia Brookside. The new Knockouts champion recently defeated Lei Ying Lee to become the champion. It was kind of inevitable that she was going to win the belt. The build up for it all was very good, and she's got a long road ahead of her. Can she truly be the current face of the Knockouts division? Number 4, Nick Nemeth, the new TNA World Champion. Well, he defeated the face of TNA, Mike Santana, and Nick Nemeth has always been a beloved figure in professional wrestling. He has always put in the hard work, and now he is on top. He is at the top of the company. The question is, will he last? TNA has a really weird main event scene in the fact that they really don't have one, so it's up to Nick to carry that load. Number 3, Cedric Alexander, the X Division champion. He is in a weird position because the X Division can always be at the top. The X Division can always be the focal point at any time of TNA. I mean, it's what the company was built off of, and now he's got a long road ahead of him. He is probably the leader of the system. So can all of that work for him? I am very curious. Number 2, Demon X Bunny, the current TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions. Look, they probably should be lower on this list, but ladies and gentlemen, Ali and Rosemary are a match made in heaven. They are really good friends. They have told a wonderful, beautiful story about bringing Ali back from the undead realm. She has been truly fantastic, and I think they will be able to really lock on to the Knockouts Tag Team Division. At number 1, Mustafa Ali. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's very simple. He's kind of the face of TNA right now. Even though I had Nick Nemeth in this list, Ali he's the man. Ali is that guy that has really been underrated for a very long time, and now look at him. He has his own group. He has been doing a wonderful job leading that group, and now he's got the newest TNA title on the men's side of things, and he's carried it, and he's doing amazing with it, and that's why he's number 1. We'll be right back. The spotlight is on, and it's on one, ladies and gentlemen, Mara Sade. The former Jakara Jackson is in the middle of the Knockouts TV title tournament, and there is a very strong possibility that she can make the finals. Many of us see that she might make the finals, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. She, after leaving or being let go by the WWE, was it was kind of wild that she signed with TNA, but they needed all the help they can get, and she's already become a big part of that division, having feuds, having matches. It's been really solid for her. So the obvious question, the next question is, well, ladies and gentlemen, what's next for her? And I think her winning that TV championship and her making the finals, that would be really good for her. We'll see what they do, but I kind of expect her to be in the finals to go up against, honestly, her biggest rival in TNA to date, Elena Black. But we shall see. We'll be right back. So, what is going on with TNA? They've been in the news a lot lately, and we're going to just look at everything we're going to recap a bunch of stuff and kind of see what's happening, what's next. And look, this is not an LOL TNA show, okay? That show has been done to death many times by many different people, okay? We are not here to rag on them. We are not here to make fun of them. I genuinely, truly want to see them succeed, and we can't do that if we're going to dredge up the past, right? We can't do that if all we're going to say is LOL TNA, why do they keep doing this? No, what we're going to do is really look at the current landscape of TNA, and we have to start with TNA is back. So about 2 years ago, right, at the end of what pay-per-view was that? At the conclusion of Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory is TNA's WrestleMania. It's their biggest show of the year. So at the end of Bound for Glory, they were still Impact Wrestling. Scott D'Amore came out and made an announcement. So that Bound for Glory show was it was a good show. So like we were looking at the show, and we had Sabin and Kenta on the roster. We had a Monsters Ball match. It was a very well received show. Alex Shelley had main evented, defeating Josh Alexander, retained the TNA World Championship. Trinity had defeated Mickie James to retain the Knockouts Championship, and this was Mickie James's last rodeo tour. You forget that Naomi was in TNA. She was solid for TNA, right? So Scott D'Amore, after the show, comes out and announces, "Hey, we're back. That TNA will be returning. We're going back to the name TNA." This started with their Hard to Kill. Well, no, they would be TNA. Yeah, they would be TNA, and they will start with the launch of their next pay-per-view, which was Hard to Kill in January. So they went from, that's the thing I hate, they go from October to January without a pay-per-view, but they got shows in between. Right. So this was very well received, right? Scott D'Amore announces TNA Wrestling is back. This is what we all love. This is what we all grew up on. Total non-stop action, right? So they start touring in the UK, and they haven't been back to the UK since 2015. And they had announced a new toy deal with Powertown to release its first line of product, and things were going well. The TNA name change took effect in January 2024, with the first event being again the Hard to Kill show, which was again well received. And we're like, you know what? This is good. This is very, very good. You know what I mean? TNA total nonstop action was major for the longest of times. After WWE have brought WCW, have brought ECW, TNA was the second largest promotion in the United States, and they at one point could challenge them. And then, they had a lot of ups and downs becoming Impact Wrestling, but now here we are back to TNA, and they got all of those goodwill. That time frame. Now here's the thing, that time frame from October to at the end of Bound for Glory to Hard to Kill was met with much anticipation because we were all ready for the return of TNA. But then things changed. So on February 7th, Anthem Sports Entertainment, the owners of TNA, announced that Scott D'Amore's contract was being terminated, and he was being removed from his position as president of TNA, later being replaced by Anthony Ciccione. Now, this, to a lot of people, was not good. See, here's the thing. Scott D'Amore put his life into resurrecting TNA. Scott D'Amore put his blood, his sweat, his tears into fixing the product of Impact Wrestling and turning it to TNA. He received so much goodwill that him being released was strange. We come to find out about a year or two later, he actually wanted to purchase TNA from Anthem, right? And I don't think they liked that. He wanted to keep the product for themselves, and essentially gave Scott D'Amore the middle finger. He fixed the company, and now they're taking it from him. So that was the first what the F moment. Scott D'Amore would later go on to start Maple Leaf Pro, MLP. It's already become possibly the top Canadian independent promotion, probably the top Canadian promotion. And they've just signed a TV deal. They've just signed a deal where they will have their weekly show airing on My AEW. It's a streaming service by AEW, and they have a bunch of promotions on it, independent promotions, and it's just growing. And Maple Leaf is probably the biggest name so far. Like, they have Produce Wrestling on there, they have Warrior Wrestling, Wrestling Pro, Capital City, Creator Pro, but Maple Leaf is the biggest, and followed by Produce. Now, if they get GCW, if they get House of Glory, it's the number one, streaming platform for wrestling anywhere, right? So Scott D'Amore is doing quite well for himself. You know what I mean? So that was the first weird what the F moment. Then it was announced that TNA has signed a multi-year partnership with the WWE. This was announced on January 16th, 2025. And a TNA title was defended on WWE program for the first time the following month, with Moose defending the X Division Championship against Lexus King. But this didn't work out so well for NXT. So what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? It was weird because TNA got sunned, right? The partnership truly wasn't equal. TNA always played second fiddle to NXT, right? Because multiple NXT wrestlers held TNA championships and held them for a minute. Moose would go on, who at that point was the biggest star in TNA, and lose. He lost to Oba, and they built the Moose just to feed him to Oba, right? They then had Trick Williams, right, win the TNA World Championship. Let that sink in. Trick Williams, an NXT wrestler, won the TNA Championship, and no one batted an eye. And he held the championship for a good minute, 140 days. He held that championship. Okay, so you figure maybe a TNA wrestler will go on and win, the NXT Men's Championship or the NXT Women's Championship. Not so fast. We then had the TNA Knockouts Championship, the top championship of the NXT Women's Division, right? I'm sorry, the TNA Women's Division. And get this. So after becoming TNA again, Jordynne Grace was champion to Masha. Masha then lost the title to JC Jane of NXT. This was a winner's take all match. JC lost to Ash. Ash had to vacate. The title was then won after it was vacated by by Kelani Jordan, who was an NXT wrestler. She then lost the belt to Lei Ying Lee, who then lost it to Ariana Grace, an NXT wrestler. So 3 different women of NXT held the TNA Knockouts Championship. Not one woman won the NXT Women's Championship. The only person from TNA at the time to win an NXT championship were the Hardys. They won the NXT Tag Team Championship. That is it. TNA always played second fiddle to NXT, and it doesn't even matter about the Showdown pay-per-view, right? It doesn't matter that NXT won 3 of the 4 matches. The Hardys won the NXT Tag Team Championship. Team NXT on the women's side won the women's match. Oh no, I'm sorry. Team NXT lost that event too. The Hardys won. Team NXT won. Ethan Page, who at that point was in NXT now, he was a former TNA star, won the North American Championship, and Team TNA, the men, won the men versus the men's match. So it was 2-2. TNA didn't even win that. They always played second fiddle, and it never felt fair. It never felt complete. So Alex, what's his name? Anthony Sion resigns in February of 2025 as president of TNA, and he's replaced by Carlos Silva. And you're thinking, okay, Carlos Silva can work some things out, can make TNA grow even further than it is. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's see how he does. And for the most part, he's doing okay. The TNA is not reaching the heights that it was when Scott D'Amore was involved, and I'm telling you this right now. Scott D'Amore would have not let the NXT TNA partnership play out the way that it did. He would have pushed back on many things. That I can guarantee. So Carlos Silva takes over, right? Which leads us to the AMC TV deal. On December 2nd, 2025, TNA and AMC Networks announced a multi-year television deal for Impact to air on AMC and AMC Plus, starting January 15th of 2026. And this will mark the return to their cable television for the first time since 2014 after a 12-year absence. And we know how they lost that TV deal. So this is great news for TNA. They have a bona fide TV deal. A bona fide TV deal. Now, the first show was not great. It was marred by production issues, technical issues. I think they only had 2 or 3 matches on the entire show. There was a lot of talking, a lot of vignettes. It was not good, but it's growing pains. TNA has always been about growing pains. Then come talents being pulled. This caused quite a bit of stir. So, as you all know, or should know, AEW connects with a lot of the outside wrestling world in a way that WWE doesn't. They have no problem with their guys wrestling and losing matches unless they're like in like a major story, which is fine. Ricochet was supposed to face Leon Slater, and MJF set up something where he and Nick Nemeth were going to have a match. And at that time, I think MJF was still world champion at that point. This was his second reign. Unexpectedly, Leon Slater and Nick Nemeth were both pulled from those matches, and no one liked it. MJF buried Carlos Silva for it, right? Fans wanted to see this. Yes, Nick Nemeth was probably going to lose, but that's okay. MJF is the current, he's the world champion. And Leon Slater and Ricochet was thought of as a dream match. They still both worked the show, but they didn't work the matches against each other, right? And people are trying to figure out why. Well, remember that partnership we talked about with TNA and WWE? Yeah. WWE doesn't want to admit it, but AEW is competition to them. AEW in this short time frame and its short span is the second largest wrestling promotion in the United States and probably the world at this point. So how does it look when TNA wrestlers lose to AEW wrestlers, when TNA is partnered with the WWE? Now, mind you, they didn't have an issue with this when Masha Slamovich defeated Mercedes Moné for one of Mercedes independent championships because of, the Ultimo Moné gimmick, which was great, but they didn't have a problem with that. So MJF crucifies Carlos Silva for it. But here's the thing, we find out why Carlos Silva pulled those talents, right? Now, some of us believe it is because of the WWE partnership, but according to reports, they were pulled because Dynamite, I believe it was either Dynamite or Collision. I think it was Collision. Had to air on a Thursday night because I think there was hockey going on. The hockey playoffs were going on. NHL playoffs were going on that Saturday. So they had to move to another day. This was already scheduled. There have been times where Collision will air on a Thursday. Carlos Silva thought this was done purposely by AEW because remember, TNA airs Impact on Thursdays. So a competitor airs their show on the same time as yours. Now, come to find out, Carlos Samoa Silva didn't know this. He didn't know that the pre-option was always going to happen. But you overreacted. And then the WWE is using you as fodder to combat AEW. Then came the cuts. So, in the beginning of the year, they lost the Rascals. Myron Reed, Zach Wentz, Trey Miguel, and Desmond Xavier. Now, Trey Miguel is back in TNA and it's shenanigans of what happened in AEW. So they lost the Rascals. And more recently, former world champion Steve Macklin, gone, requested his release. Myla Grace, a top independent talent that they could have built the division with, gone. Their head of creative, the man that was running the show, Tommy Dreamer, gone. Cut. Sami Callihan, who's done so much for TNA, especially during the pandemic, gone. Sammy thought that when he got the phone call, he was going to be moved to a backstage role, producing, creative. It would have been perfect for him. Wrong. Eric Young, long time. Eric Young's entire career is mostly associated with TNA. Gone. Tessa Blanchard, former world champion, former knockouts champion, someone that the fans know, may not like, but a big part of your company and who you can build around and anchor around, gone. And they gave her an ultimatum. For those of you that don't know, Tessa spends a lot of her time in Mexico. She knows Spanish very, very well. She's done a lot of things in Mexico. And the primary company that she works for, she also lives in Mexico. I believe she lives in Mexico. And I believe her second husband is also in Mexico. The primary company she works for is CMLL, the largest Mexican promotion. CMLL is a partner with AEW. So they gave her an ultimatum. CMLL or TNA? Well, she chose CMLL. They treat her better. They pay her more. That's what her life is. And we know why they made her choose AEW. And now they just lost Mike Santana, their former world champion. How could you let him go? He's clearly going to go to WWE. Will he be a big star like he was in TNA? I'm not so sure, but the man bettered himself. He's doing great. But you let the face of your company for the past 2 years walk. And now it sounds like they might lose Leon Slater. Yes, there's been some signings. They re-signed a bunch of people. They even grabbed the biggest star on the independent scene in Ricky Sosa. But look at the names that I just gave you and tell me that's not depressing to hear. Then we hear about this debt that they have, that even though they've signed this really good deal with AMC, it's not paying over because, you know, Dixie, Hogan, and Bischoff screwed the company. So now they got this debt, and it looks like Anthem wants to sell. They're definitely trying to sell. I fully expect the WWE to buy TNA. I expect all of that. Right? And it's not good. It's not good. Then you have Slammiversary, which just happened a couple of weeks ago. And Slammiversary came off as a very middle of the pack show. Some think it over-delivered. Some think it was just there. So fine, the results were fine, but this is one of your bigger shows, and it just didn't feel like a big show. It's a good card, solid card, but it left you wanting more. And then, and lastly, Dark Side of the Ring. For those of you that don't know, Dark Side of the Ring is a documentary series. airing on Vice about professional wrestling. And it's done a very, very good job just exposing things. And the new season has just started. And the first 3 episodes were about Jeff Jarrett and TNA. That's a battle. And it's dredging up some memories and some history. So yeah, it's a battle for TNA. So what's going on? You have the deal with WWE, you have this TV deal, you got wrestlers being released, and something feels off. Can they truly grow and get back to where they were? It's a really interesting question. I want TNA to succeed. I want TNA to do well. They introduced a new Knockout Television champion. I don't think they have a big enough division, but they got a 16-woman tournament going on. We'll see. I do. TNA's been a big part of a lot of people's lives, and we're hoping they steady the ship. Will they steady the ship? That is the important question. But that is our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Look on the screen what we got coming up. You know, you can check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, of course, the 215 on Twitter, and as always, Anna J, Chris Statlander, Willa Nightingale, Hazuki, Priscilla Kelly, Ala Dawn, and Bailey. Holla at your boy. Peace.